while ago, I was scrolling through TikTok and I came across a TikTok by Victoria Shaz, who is amazing, and she had posted this amazing, beautiful Selkie dress. Now, most of you know about Selkie dresses. They have made their rounds in the vintage community and here on YouTube. There are a lot of people who have tried Selkie dresses, but I personally haven't been like in love enough with them to buy them, and also I don't have the budget to buy a Selkie dress. So I haven't really gotten into that whole sphere until now. When I saw Victoria post this dress, I fell in love. I love the fabric and I love the fit and I love everything about it. And then I scrolled and literally the next TikTok I saw was another creator who had posted this really, really cute 70s dress that had the same kind of vibe. And right then and there I was like, okay, I need to make a dress. So today we're going to make a Selkie dress with the catch that everything is thrifted. The sheets that I'm going to use are thrifted. The patterns that I'm going to use are thrifted. Everything is going to be thrifted. And in total, I only spent, I think, about $7, I want to say, on this entire project. I've had these sheets forever, and one of them still had the price tag on it. It was $2. The patterns that I'm going to use were 50 cents each. I am kind of just going to mash things together and make up my own pattern to make it look like a Selkie dress, but let's get going. This is the second time I've filmed this intro. The third time. I've filmed this intro a couple of times and I didn't have sound the first time, so it's a lot quicker than I meant it to be, but I just really want to get into it. I'm super excited to share this project with all of you. And if you are a returning subscriber and you have not seen my little channel update, which was the last video I made, you can hop over there to figure out why my name is different. And hopefully you like it. But without further ado, let's get into making a Selkie dress out of entirely thrifted items. Welcome to the part of the video where we all realize that I am absolutely chaotic whenever I'm filming and sewing. So I filmed this entire portion with sound and then realized after I started editing that I had lost all of my sound for this video. So here I am just showing you the patterns that I'm using. I thrifted everything. I spent about $7 over the course of several years finding all of these materials, but the patterns that I'm using are a McCall's 5095 pattern for the bodice, and then a very random wedding dress pattern that I had found thrifting that I really just wanted the sleeves out of. And the materials are 2 sheets that I thrifted years and years ago, and I've been keeping in my stash for a very long time. So one of the reasons that I don't film sewing videos very often is because I'm never really sure what I should film, because I want to make it interesting, obviously, but I don't find it very interesting to sew and to film sewing. So here I am cutting out the bodice pattern. I literally only used the bodice petals of the McCall's pattern. I didn't use anything else about the pattern. And I just wanted to make sure that I was getting the maximum of flowers on my pattern. So I did kind of place things nicely, but again, not super great. I didn't really care too much. I just wanted it to look cute. I tried to maximize the sleeve especially, and I decided to cut out a few inches on either side more than what the pattern was. I wanted it to be as puffy as possible, so I added a few inches. I didn't quite cut out the shape right, I will admit that, but I am very much a slapdash person when it comes to sewing, so I don't really care. It worked out well in the end. It's just, I probably wouldn't suggest this for a newborn sewist, a newbie sewist. And then here I am grabbing my thread. This is something that I talk about later, but don't thrift your thread. That is the one thing I would suggest buying new, because I had some issues with this. So in order to put the dress together, I really just had to figure out which bodice panels went together. There were, I believe, 8 in total. 2 in the back, 2 on the side, 2 in the front, 6. There were 12 in total because I sewed 6, outer panels and 6 inner panels for the lining. And I really just had to figure out which pieces went to what, which was not very complicated at all. If you have been sewing for any any amount of time, you will kind of just know instinctively what shapes go with what shapes. But this pattern, I think, would be really easy if you had the pattern instructions anyway. And you'll have to forgive me for the chaos of this voiceover. I am trying to get it done because it has been 3 weeks since I filmed this video and I really want to get it out. But I am crappy at describing what I'm doing during sewing because I don't know what I'm doing half of the time. Here I am taking the pattern off of the sleeves so that I can figure out the sleeves. The sleeves took forever. I agonized over the sleeves because I didn't want to do it wrong. Originally, I was not going to have any sort of strap, but then I realized that I really needed a strap to attach the sleeves to, so I went ahead and I just created a little 2-inch sleeve strap, turned it inside out, and eventually pinned it into the bodice. And I didn't film it, but I actually cut out a strap that was too short for the bodice that I was making, so I did have to redo the straps. I had to repin the sleeves several times. I had to re-sew the sleeves quite a few times. The sleeves took me the longest of any section of the dress, and they were frustrating, but they turned out beautiful, so it was worth the time. And there you just saw me thinking that I had filmed myself sewing something, but I actually turned on the camera and walked away, which is just goes to describe how chaotic I am when I'm sewing. I don't know. There were several things in this section that when I was editing together these clips, I asked myself what I was doing, and I don't know what I was doing, such as turning the strap out of the seam here. I shouldn't have done that, and as you will see later, I do correct it and I put it inside the pieces of fabric like it should be. It should be sandwiched in between them, but for some reason I took it out here and I don't know what I was doing. This is why I don't film sewing videos. Because it's chaos. It's chaos. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I just go at it and hope that everything turns out well, and I refuse to use instructions because I hate being told what to do. So, you're welcome for the chaotic sewing content. Hopefully this makes some kind of sense. I literally just added straps where I thought they should be. I did take quite a long time trying on the bodice in the bathroom and pinning the straps where I thought they should go, and then repinning them because it didn't quite work out right. And then I finally decided to sew it all in, and after this I had to take it all out and re-sew it. But here I am kind of flattening the strap so that it doesn't get caught underneath the sewing machine, because that's something you have to worry about if you're, sewing the way that I sew. And then I am hemming the sleeve here. This is another decision I could not quite figure out what I wanted to do so far as making it elastic around my arm. Eventually I decided to just measure my arm. I tightened it up a little bit, and then I used a very, very wide zigzag stitch to go over the elastic, and I did my very best not to actually catch the elastic into the zigzag stitch, but rather create like a casing with the stitching to keep the elastic in place without catching it, so that it could just be elasticized within the sleeve. This is probably not a professional thing to do, but it's what I did, and it worked for the most part. So, that's just how it is. That's how it goes on my channel. I do things because they work for me, not necessarily because they're supposed to be done that way. This entire section here is me agonizing over how to gather the sleeves, where to place the sleeves, how I was supposed to... I could not wrap my brain around how I was supposed to put the sleeve on to the strap and have it all turned out the right way. That is probably what took me the longest amount of time, and then I decided to hand gather everything because I really wanted the puffiness to be in a certain place, and if you don't place your gathering in the correct area, it won't puff the way that you want it to. But can I explain to you how and why? No, I can't. I just did it the way that I did it, and it worked. I did try to measure the top of the sleeve into the middle of the strap to make sure that the poof was at the middle of my shoulder, but even that failed me when I tried it on. I had accidentally sewn the puff onto the back of my shoulder in one of the sleeves. So like I said, I'm a very chaotic seamstress, and this is why I don't actually make tutorials. I just kind of share my sewing process with all of you because I'm not good enough to make tutorials. I'm just taking you along for the ride. So the skirt was the easiest part. For this, I literally took a full or a double flat sheet and I folded it in half so that it, could go from my waist to the floor. And then I folded it in half again and I cut the first panel into two and the second panel I left as one so that I could add pockets into the side seams. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I did. I made 3 panels. One was very long. The other one was 2 short ones so that I could add the pockets in the sides and I could add a zipper. And here you see one of my children. And then I cut out pockets literally by measuring my hand and cutting around it. This is how I always do pockets. This is probably not the way you're supposed to do pockets. Again, I don't know. I just do whatever I want to do. And I think that should be the encouragement of this video, is that when you go into sewing, you don't have to follow any rules. You could sew however it works for you. And if that's the way that you enjoy sewing, then you are successful. You do not have to follow the rules of sewing in order to create beautiful garments. You just sew in a way that makes sense to your brain. That's how I do it. And while my garments might not be perfect, they do make me happy, and that's really what matters. So anyway, I decided to hand gather the skirt because I really didn't want to waste a lot of thread trying to thread gather this. It's a lot of skirt. It's, it's an entire sheet doubled around my waist. It's a lot. So I hand gathered it by just going along. I laid down the bodice. The bodice by now had been cut down to what I needed it to be, and I laid the skirt on top of it and just went ham with the gathers because there was a lot of skirt and not a lot of waist space. But this is my favorite way to gather because I can make sure that each of the gathers is exactly where I want it to be. And the only thing I have to worry about is making sure that the side seams match up so that the pockets are in their correct place. And that's pretty much it. That's how I made a Selkie dress. It was a lot of slapdash. Who the heck knows what I was actually doing, but somehow it magically turned out. And now we are going to see me sew the skirt on, and then I forgot to film the rest of my process because I just wanted to be finished. So all you're going to see me do is iron for the zipper. You're not actually going to see me sew it in, which is fine because I did a crappy job of it anyway. But let's go to the reveal. So it is a different day because I finished recording and I was set to edit and I realized I had no sound. So I have to redo my recap of this dress, but I did it. So I did it. It took me about 8 hours or 7 hours. I think I started sewing at about noon and I finished at 7 o'clock or a little bit before. And I love it. I love this dress so much. I think it's so beautiful. I already have plans to make another one because I just love it. I'm obsessed. I can't stop looking at it. I want to wear it everywhere. I just It has pockets, it has poofy sleeves. It's basically perfect. I don't think there's anything that I would change other than this likes to fall off, which is, it's fine. I'll adjust it in the next one that I make. So the pros about this dress. The process was actually really, really simple. The bodice pattern that I used, I would highly recommend if you're a first-time sewer, especially if you have the instructions, which I didn't. I didn't use any instructions. I just slapped it together however I wanted to. But that bodice pattern was actually really, really easy. I find it a lot easier than like if you have a collar or inset sleeves, which is where the bodice, you know, if the bodice was this whole thing and then you had to stick the sleeve in a hole, that's way harder. This style of bodice where you literally just have to do this, and then I added the straps, so easy. Highly recommend trying this if it's a first time project. The sleeves though, the sleeves took me an hour to figure out and make sure that I was doing them right and gather them in the correct place and figure out how to do the little elasticy part. There are several ways you can do elastic. I considered cutting out a little ruffle to attach, but in the end I just didn't want to, so I didn't. I really love the way it turned out. I don't think there's anything that I would change. I like the fit. I love it. It's everything. It's more than I even thought. I like it better than Selkie dresses. I'm sorry, the creators of Selkie, but I like mine better. But yeah, I love it. I think the only two issues that I have is that I use a lot of thrifted thread, and I wouldn't recommend doing that because this thread that I have is too old. So I accidentally stepped on the hem of the dress and I popped the waist seam, and I'm gonna have to fix that. And then I was just putting the dress on and I pulled down the skirt to get it over myself, and I popped another section. So the thread's too weak. Don't thrift threads. That's the only thing that I recommend buying new. Everything else you can thrift, but thread's not really a great thing to thrift because the older the thread it is, the easier it's gonna break. That's the only issue I had. Oh, also I messed up on the zipper, and I actually sewed a portion of the skirt over the zipper on accident, but I don't really care because it's long enough to get on, so I'll fix it eventually. But otherwise, I am super in love with this dress, and I am going to be thrifting so many bed sheets to make into dresses now because I want this in any and all colors that I can find it. It's a lot like the Amazon dress that I wear all the time, except better because, you know, I made it for $7. It's recycling materials, and also it fits better, and it's prettier, but I'm in love. I have no complaints. This was a one-day project. It was super easy to make, other than the sleeves, because the sleeves, I was this close to losing it trying to figure out the sleeves, and then I sewed the sleeve on wrong and I had to undo it, and then I sewed the sleeve all the way around and realized my bobbin thread was gone, so I had to redo it again. But other than those problems, I'm really happy with this. But that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, if you didn't get the update about my channel name and you're wondering why it suddenly changed, you can go check out my last video and that explains everything. I hope you all like it, but if you don't let me know because I like it and that's all that matters. But anyway, that is it for this video. Don't forget, if you would like to support my channel in more ways than just liking and subscribing and commenting, all of which are perfectly valid and wonderful ways to support me, you can go down and check out my Ko-Fi link where you can tip me for the work that I do here on this channel. You can also check out my merch store. I keep adding little bits and pieces as I come up with design, and they're all just things that make me happy. So if you want a little piece of joy in your house from me to you can check out my merch store. And that's it. I hope that wherever you are feeling safe and loved. And until I see you again, have a beautiful day and thank you for watching. Bye!